Hello viewers, welcome to Keats Auto and Truck Repair. Today we have a 2012 Ford Focus with a 2.0 liter engine. The customer complaint on this vehicle is the check engine light remains on the dash while the engine is running. The customer also stated that the engine doesn't start when he fills up the fuel tank with gas. So every time she goes to the gas station to fill up the fuel tank, the engine cranks for a while before it starts. So we have a clue right there. When the customer told me this, I already had an idea of what's going on. Actually, Matt was asking me earlier about what's causing the issue, and I told Matt to guess. I said, Matt, guess, what do you think is the issue? And he kept giving me answers as we were filming other projects that you guys will see eventually here, until towards the end he kind of got it right. So I'm going to give you guys a hint. I'm not going to tell you what's wrong. I'm going to give you guys a hint. I believe the component that's causing the check engine light to remain on the dash, and the component that's causing the engine to crank for a while before the engine starts after the fuel tank is filled with gas, it has a two-word name. The first word starts with a P, and then the other word starts with a V. So figure that out. I hope you guys can guess it right. Let us know in the comments section what you think is the issue based on the hint that I gave you. So now let's go in the vehicle. Let's confirm the customer's complaint. We're gonna start the engine, and then we're gonna get the scan tool connected to see how we're gonna go about fixing this. So now let's go in the vehicle. All right, I'm gonna start the engine so we can confirm the customer's complaint. So as you can hear, the engine is running. So here's what we got. And the check engine light remains on the dash. So customer's complaint confirmed. So let's scan the engine computer and see what we got. So the scan tool has identified the vehicle, 2012 Ford Focus, titanium. Oh. Is this nice? What does that mean? Matt is laughing. Maybe titanium means nice trim or nicer level, I guess. All right, so vehicle has been identified. We have 131,000 miles, 725. Okay, let's do a code scan. Now, guys, remember we have a clue. The customer says when she fills out the fuel tank, the engine cranks for a while, so it takes a while for the engine to start. Okay, so right off the bat, we have 4 trouble codes in the engine computer. First trouble code is P0171, so P071, system 2 lean bank 1. And then the second code is P0456, evap system leak detected, very small leak. And then the third one is P0480, fan 1 control circuit, no current DTC. And then fourth code is P1450-00, unable to bleed up fuel tank vacuum. Okay. Now we have an evap code and we have a lean code. Let's scroll down and see what else we have. We have one code in the power steering control module, one code in the BCM, and then we have 3 codes on the generic side of the tool. First code P0171, system 2 lean bank 1. So this engine only has one bank. It's a 4-cylinder engine. And then P0456, evap system leak detected, very small leak. And then the third code is P1450, manufacturer specific. Interesting. So now let's go in the vehicle. Since we have a lean code and we have an evap code, now based on experience and based on what the customer told me, she said when she fills up the fuel tank, the engine cranks for a while before it starts. That sounds like a symptom of a stuck open purge valve. So when you fuel the vehicle, so when you're putting fuel in the tank, you have fuel vapors that rise, so hydrocarbon. So those fuel vapors will go through the evap system and they will go to the purge valve. The purge valve is supposed to be normally closed. But if the purge valve is open, it's going to allow those fuel vapors to go into the intake manifold, and that can cause the engine to run very rich, and that can prevent the engine from starting because you have too much hydrocarbon in the intake manifold, and that can prevent the engine from starting. So that can cause the crank, the long crank before the engine starts after the fuel tank has been filled up with gas. So what I want to do now is, let's look at our codes once again, and then I want to look at my fuel trim numbers since we have a lean code to see if we also have a vacuum leak or a mass airflow sensor on top of the evap system problem that we have. Now, I mean, a stuck open purge valve can also cause lean codes to be set. So I believe it's just the evap code that's also causing the lean code. So now what I'm going to do is, let's go to data, and then let's go to fuel trim / O2 sensor data. So we're going to do the usual normal stuff. We're going to start the engine, rev up the engine to see how our fuel trim numbers will change based on engine speed, and that will give us an indication of what problem we're dealing with. Okay, and then in this video I'm gonna focus on the lean code and the evap code that we have. Okay, so we're gonna deselect all these data PIDs. We're gonna grab our short-term fuel trim and then long-term fuel trim. I also want to grab my O2 sensor data PIDs. Oxygen sensor, current bank 1, sensor 1. So the first O2 sensor is a wideband O2 sensor. Okay, so that's it. This is all I want to look at. Let's also grab engine speed, fuel system status. Where is our engine speed data PID? All right, that's it. I couldn't see the engine speed data PID. So right now, look at this number over here. Our long-term fuel trim is 29.7%, which is way higher than normal. On a good vehicle, our fuel trim numbers should be plus or minus 10%, long-term plus short-term. So I'm gonna start the engine. Okay, what's going on? What? Now the battery is weak. What the heck? Okay, the battery just got weak because we had the key on for a while. I'm gonna get a battery charger on the battery, and then I'll bring you guys back up. All right, so I'm gonna turn the key on. Let's retry this. Right there, as you can hear, the engine is running. So we're still in open loop. We went into closed loop. Our long-term fuel trim number is 12, so it's climbing up. It's going between, oh, it's going up right now. So it's going up to 21%. Our short term is minus 10. So we have about 10% right now. So these numbers, our long-term number is too high. So short-term is going down and long-term is increasing. Now the question is, do we have a vacuum leak, or do we have a mass airflow sensor that's under-reporting, or do we have a fuel delivery problem? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna increase the engine RPMs, because right now our fuel trim numbers at idle are out of whack, okay? They're not good. So at idle right now we have 28.1% on the long term, and then short term we have minus 1.4. It's going between minus 1.4 and minus 2.2. So I'm gonna increase the engine RPMs. I'm I'm gonna increase the engine RPMs to about 3,000 RPMs. I'm looking at the RPM gauge on the dash. So as I'm increasing the engine RPMs, our fuel trim numbers are getting better. So right now, on the short term, we have minus 12.4%, and then on the long term here, we have 11.7%. So when we rev up the engine to 3,000 RPMs, our fuel trim numbers get better. Now I'm gonna let off. Let's see if the numbers will climb up. Yeah, so as soon as I let off, our long-term number goes up to 28.9%, and then our short-term number goes between minus 2.2 or minus 3.03. Let me increase the engine RPMs again. So our fuel trim numbers get better when we increase the engine RPMs, but when we let off, they get worse. So this is an indication of a vacuum leak, okay? A vacuum leak or a defective mass airflow sensor. Now, I would lean towards a vacuum leak, and knowing that we also have a evap code, we might have a purge valve that's stuck open. So we're gonna go under the hood. I'll check the evap purge valve first before we check for a vacuum leak, because we might use our smoke machine to smoke the intake manifold to see if we have a leak somewhere around the intake manifold. But let me increase the engine RPM again. So let's increase the engine RPMs and see. So let's go up to about 3,000 RPMs. So watch this number here. So our long-term number goes down, and then our short-term number increases, but it's in the negatives. Okay, we have negative 10.8% on the short term, and then we have positive 11.7%. So right now total trim is about 1%, which is within the specification of plus or minus 10%. Okay, so we're good. Now I have a direction. I know what way I'm gonna go to fix this. Let's go under the hood. Let's check our purge valve first, because we know this vehicle doesn't start easily after you fuel up the vehicle, after you put gas in the tank. So let's go under the hood. Let's check the purge valve first, and after that, if the purge valve is good, we're gonna smoke the intake manifold. So now let's go under the hood. We're gonna use our vacuum gauge to check the purge valve. I left the engine running, and I have my scan tool here with me. Okay, so right now our long-term number is 28.9%, and our short-term number is 7.8%. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get access to our purge valve. So here's the purge valve. Matt, I don't know if you can show it. So this guy over here is the purge valve. So this is the purge valve. So this line goes to the intake manifold, and the line back here goes to this line over here goes to the evap system. So I'm gonna follow this line. If I follow this, see, it goes over here, and then it goes to this connection here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect this. I'm gonna remove this little lock. I'm gonna pull it out of the way, and then I'm gonna disconnect this tube. This tube is connected to the purge valve. So I'm gonna press, there's a little locking tab over here. I'm gonna press it, and then I'll pull this up. Oh, actually I have vacuum on this. This tube comes from the purge valve, and then the metal tube comes from the fuel tank. This is the evap tube. So what I did was I disconnected this, and now I'm using this pressure gauge, the vacuum gauge. So I'm gonna connect my vacuum gauge to the tube that's coming from the purge valve. So watch this. So we have vacuum going past the purge valve. Now, this shouldn't be happening, okay? So now, as I'm looking at our fuel trim numbers on the scan tool, our fuel trim numbers are still worse. So if the issue is a defective purge valve, or if it's an open purge valve, I'm going to block this I'm gonna block this tube with the glove, and then I'm gonna reconnect the purge valve. So look at these numbers. Our fuel trim numbers got better. Okay. Can you see that glove I put over there? Okay, so I'm basically blocking the evap line that comes from the tank to the purge valve. So watch this. Now our fuel trim numbers got better. Okay, so now we have negative 18%. It's going between negative 18% and negative 20% on the short term, and we have 22% on the long term. So we're going between 22 and 21. So we found the issue. Okay, the issue is the purge valve. Now you might say, what about if the engine computer is turning on the purge valve? Well, you could be right. The way we can check that is by disconnecting the purge valve electrical connector. I'm gonna do this while the engine is running. So Matt, if you can show the purge valve electrical connector, I'm gonna disconnect this electrical connector. So right now, the electrical connector is disconnected. So if the computer is turning on the purge valve is a normally closed valve, so it should be closed right now. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna disconnect this. I still feel vacuum over here. Watch this. So our purge valve is disconnected, but we still have vacuum on the gauge. So my vacuum gauge is connected to this tube that comes from the purge valve, and as you can see on the gauge over here, we have vacuum. So the purge valve is stuck open. So we are done. Stuck purge valve. Okay? So now I'm gonna turn off the engine. So that was a pretty quick and easy one. To be honest, I already had an idea of what's going on with this based on what the customer told me. It's very important to ask the right questions, because you can know what's going on based on what the customer tells you. Because the customer said, when I go to the gas station, I fill up the fuel tank, then the car doesn't start. It takes a while. So, you know, that's a classic symptom of a stuck open purge valve. The fact that we had a lean code and the evap code, you know, that was another telltale sign there, or another telltale clue. So I'm gonna call the customer. I'm gonna let the customer know about what we found. I'm gonna send her the estimate. Hopefully she's gonna approve the purge valve replacement. I'm gonna get an OEM purge valve. We're gonna get a valve from Ford. After I get the approval and after I get the part, I will bring you guys back up so we can get this purge valve replaced. And after that, this is gonna be fixed. All right, guys, the customer gave us the go ahead to fix the vehicle. So she approved the estimate. I called our local Ford dealership and they had the purge valve. So here it is. Here's the part number of the purge valve. So we got a brand new unit from the dealer. So I'm gonna get it out of the bag. So this is what we're gonna install. And I'm sure after we install this purge valve, our fuel trim numbers will get better and this is gonna be fixed, okay? So it looks like this one comes with the bracket, but I'm not gonna remove the bracket. We're gonna use the old bracket. So I'm just gonna get this, I'm just gonna remove this from this bracket, okay? So it's gonna go this way. Okay, now I'm gonna put the new one over here. I already have the back tube disconnected. So here's the back tube. The back tube is disconnected. I'm gonna get the purge valve. Okay, let's see. Everything is plastic down here. Let me grab a flat screwdriver. So I'm disconnecting this tube over here. See this little green piece? And then I'm gonna press this. Let me see if I can
Let's see if I can pull this out. There we go. Nice. She came out very good. So I'm gonna push this back just like that, and then okay, so here it is. Here is our old purge valve. Okay, so we're gonna put it over here. Now we're gonna install our new one and see if how am I gonna lock this? Okay, cameraman might say it's gonna lock once you push it on. I'm gonna feed it through down here. I think I have to push it forward a little bit. There we go. I heard it click. Now let me see if I can get to the little locking piece. It's hot. Okay. And then we're gonna get the purge valve on the bracket here. Just like that. Now I can connect this guy. So my hand might be in the way. There we go. Nice. Did you hear it snap? Okay, right there. Now Matt, if you can show over here. Okay, so the purge valve is installed. We got it hooked up on this bracket. So now I'm gonna connect its electrical connector. Just like that. Very good. Okay, so old piece. So now I'm going to start the engine. So let me grab this piece over here. I don't have to go in the car. I'm gonna use this to push the brake pedal and start the engine. All right. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at my fuel trim numbers. Remember, our fuel trim numbers were pretty bad. After replacing the purge valve, let's see if our fuel trim numbers will get better. I'm sure they will, because that old purge valve, this valve over here, is stuck open. So let's customize this list. Yeah, we're done. This was a quick and easy one. Bad purge valve. So the purge valve being stuck open is what was causing the lean code also. Okay, so we don't have a vacuum leak, because as you guys saw, when I plugged up this tube over here with a glove, our fuel trim numbers got better. So which told me that we don't have a vacuum leak. So we're gonna grab our trim numbers. I'm just gonna grab our O2 sensors, dial pads. So check this out. It's fixed. We're good. Right now, our short term is minus 6.1, and then our long term is 5.5%. So check this number here, look at this number, and then this over here. Right now our total trim is Yeah, our total trim is about 1%. So great, we're good to go. This is fixed. I don't even have to take this on a test drive. Actually, let me turn the key on. Let me clear the code. And then we should be good to go. This is fixed. Just based on the numbers that I see over here, our long-term number, long-term fuel trim and short-term fuel trim, we're good. I'm going to turn off the engine. I'm going to turn the key on. I'm going to erase the code, and then Matt is going to show the dash. Let me go back and clear the code. Yeah, this is fixed. Stack open purge valve. Let's see, pending codes. No more codes, no codes present. So Matt, if you can show the dash, I'm gonna start the engine. All right guys, so as you can see, check engine light is off. We cleared the codes. Right now our fuel trim numbers look good, so we're good to go. I'm gonna turn off the engine so we can wrap up this video. That's it. We're gonna leave this right over here. This vehicle is fixed. The issue was a defective purge valve. The purge valve was stuck open. It was causing the lean code and the evap code. We did some tests. We figured out that the issue was the purge valve. We replaced the valve. Now all is well. So I hope you liked the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching. See you next time.